Good to have you in. Welcome to Super Bowl Sunday. It's the Average Joe Sports Show Sunday Live. There's the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, still fully masked. That's Bill Doleman, the pride of Fairbury, bowler extraordinaire, and someday Super Bowl fan when Denver gets back. Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt with you. Good to have you in, Joe's. It's glorious, man. We're going to get low 60s. I've been out already. The grill works. It's ready to take on a 3-pound tomahawk a little bit later today in honor of Super Bowl Sunday. We'll talk with the Super Bowl champ and a Husker legend, Grant Wistrom, with us in about 30 minutes. Husker basketball back at it. Some fantastic finishes. And Elijah, you've already been to the sports book in lieu of some of your basketball projections. And you're gearing up for a wonderful Super Bowl prop bet Sunday, it sounds like.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I am not a big sports bettor. Some of the big games, such as the Super Bowl, I will get into the sports book. I'd like to thank North Carolina, though, first for doubling my money before I made any Super Bowl wagers. So thank you, North Carolina. That was great. What a great night of college basketball.
It was awesome. Bunny and Junior were just hanging on for dear life. I thought Wagler was going to stab him in the back because he had a rough shooting night for Illinois, but they just kept battling. That was a freaking war between Sparty and Illinois. It was nuts.
Yeah, and then there was Fierce playing, and you never know what you're going to get there. I wonder how Frager, when he watches Michigan State basketball and he sees what Fierce is doing, what he thinks these days.
He probably thinks, I wasn't that far off.
Hey, but you know what? Like as you watch, like the Fighting Illini and the Spartans last night, you had Duke and North Carolina. A little bit later, you had Houston and BYU, and you watch like you compare Nebraska because today is 5 weeks from Selection Sunday. 5 weeks from Selection Sunday, they could be having a huge watch party in PBA, and here Kent Pavelka add to his list of many Kent-isms this year. Get ready to twerk once again. Like Nebraska fits. Like you watch other teams play, and you're like, okay, Nebraska looks like those teams. They play and have success like those teams. So that's 5 weeks away. That's nice to have, but man, I don't know. This is going to be it's going to be key to be the seed. Like get a really, really good seed for the NCAA tournament. But the Big Ten, man, Nebraska's in a position to get a triple bye in a conference that is loaded and I think has the national champion in it.
I think you're right on. Illinois looks championship level, as does Michigan. Sparty hit enough shots last night to knock off. Nebraska's in that conversation when they're on all cylinders and they want to kind of gear back up to be in what they've been, where they've just been smoking people on the road and handling business at home. Purdue's scuffling a bit, but they're dangerous. And can't wait for Tuesday. Is the Average Joe Sports Show going to be on the road 4 to 6 ahead of tip-off down in the rail yard at gate 25. So come on by, say what's up. But, let's talk Nebraska, Rutgers. It was kind of back and forth early, and then Nebraska goes on their, vaunted run to finish it 14-5. Is that right? Does that sound about right? The final 3 minutes going into half with momentum. But what I really liked was when Rutgers shot a little better in the second half, Nebraska was able to just kind of do the old reliable, man. You just throw it into the paint and let Rink do his thing for an answer on about 4 or 5 possessions. They weren't consecutive, but Nebraska had an answer. Rink was the answer, and it was good to see him get back at it with what Nebraska, had been lacking a little bit, and that's points in the paint.
The thing that I heard somebody on your show say, I think on Friday and maybe a little bit yesterday, was I think it was the 5 o'clock window, that Mast has to be good from 2. The threes are a bonus. That he has to be able to hit those shots from 10 feet and in. And he still had a couple that were a little off the mark, didn't exactly have the most deft of touches. But he only hit 1 3 yesterday. He had 10 2-pointers.
Yep.
That's I think to me that's the most critical part of his game. It's fun to see the big man go out and hit that long range three and look like Dirk Nowitzki, but for Nebraska to have success, he has to have an offensive presence in and around that half circle. And he had that yesterday. Still has a couple of shots he'd still like to go down, but to have 26 points and 10 of them be 2-pointers, I think was critical. And I think the other thing that you noticed yesterday is how efficient Nebraska's offense runs when he plays that 0.4, 0.5
Yep.
and dishes the ball around. It's one thing, as I said, to have Leo Curtis out there and be 7 feet tall, but he just cannot do what Rank Mass can do. And Barricade can't do it either, to try and run that offense from the top of the key and distribute in the pass like he can. So I thought all parts of his game were where they needed to be yesterday for everybody to be full matched going into the Purdue game. So that was the most reassuring thing for Nebraska. And one other thing about all the basketball we saw yesterday, and they were great games. I probably watched, 6, 8 of them, bits and pieces and finishes. I didn't see anybody that plays like Nebraska.
No.
Nobody. I mean, Kentucky, Tennessee, Illinois, Michigan State, we've seen a couple of times, a little bit of Houston and BYU. Nobody plays the game like Nebraska does right now. So how that translates into March, who knows, into April, but it's really unique watching Nebraska play.
They have the most aesthetically pleasing offense in the country, I think. It is just enjoyable to watch. You've heard neutrals say it. As a Husker basketball fan, you watch, and it's not only the guys likable, but the offense is it's easy on the eyes. There's so many times I watch other college basketball games, and I see guys pass up open 3-point shots, and I have to remind myself, oh, yeah, that's normal in college basketball. The Huskers, you get an open 3-point look, they're firing that thing up. And it's the ball movement that gets the open threes. It's so different watching other teams. So you make a great point, Bill.
Yeah, they make the game easy because they have a high IQ. They don't settle for things. They don't get baited into, hey, they're giving you a 3-point shot, but the lane is open. They use their strength, and that is a high basketball IQ with a great combination of an offensive mind in Fred and a defensive mind in Nate, and it all comes together with a really good roster that is constructed to play this way. And I don't know if you guys agree with this or not. The 5 prior games before he got sick, Rink wasn't putting up Rink numbers, but Nebraska was still winning, but he was still doing like little things. As Mass goes, Nebraska goes. Do you guys agree with that? He had 26 and 8, as Bill was just alluding to. He didn't settle for threes. He backed his guy down. That's the high basketball IQ of like, okay, they want me to shoot the 3, but I think the better shot is inside of the arc and inside of the shadow of the rim. I just think for what he is able to do, passing and shooting and facilitating, as Mass goes, Nebraska goes. As long as Mass stays on the floor, Nebraska's got a shot.
I think Nebraska can survive games and some matchups if he's not at full strength. The Michigan showing without him, I mean, everybody just over delivered. I mean, they all chipped in. So I think he's super important. Yes. So I think he's super important. You want him to be on the floor and a concern for sure. But I think he doesn't have to have a great game, I guess is what I want to say.
Yeah.
As long as he's an option out there, he really gives Nebraska a monster advantage. They can win without him, but they can go far with him. That's the best way I'll put it.
I wonder, and we all know how sick he was. I wonder if he's been sick for a while, because his game looked different yesterday. And I know they had 5 days off, after the loss to Illinois, and he wasn't 100% anywhere close in that game. But he just looked different yesterday. So I'm wondering if it wasn't just the 2 games that, the Michigan game that knocked him out and then tried to play against Illinois. I wonder if it had been lingering for a bit, because he looked completely different yesterday. And that's why when I watch him yesterday, I say, man, there's so many things that he does that helps the other 4 on the floor, that if he's playing the way he is, and he doesn't need to score, because those previous 5 games, he'd only averaged like 8 points a game. But if he can do the other things that makes Rink so special and kind of is a epitome of this team. They're very unselfish. I think he opens it up for others. And then when you forget about him, next thing you know, he's got 26 and 8. And you're like, damn, but Sanford has 15 and Sam has 13. And you're like, well, Mast had 26. Deal with it.
I really like, and it was a little bit freaky to start the game with Sam on that backdoor cut, with him having to put the brakes on, and you're like, because Mast is important. You need Price from distance because he can take over a game. You want the options of those three. Jamarcus and his tempo, right, is so important with pacing. But your heart and soul, Sam. I mean, he is your engine, and all he does, man, he has got and not to jinx things, but he can't get hurt. he can't go down. That was a lot of Nebraska fans holding their breath after the first 2 minutes yesterday against Rutgers.
Well, so he was going to join us this morning, and then he said, "I can't do it because I'm having surgery." Oh no, treatment. Sorry,
Bill.
Jesus,
treatment. He's having treatment before practice.
Jesus.
Yeah, Bill. Wrong time. Wrong phrase. But
you just started a fire.
People are like, whoa, he looked fine yesterday. There's two things about Sam, and like, we got to talk about Sam, Cale, and the rest of these guys. Man, they are like this. They've got the Edward scissor hands. Like Nebraska's hands, and I know this is like deep basketball 101, and people now are like, hey, stop giving me the hands this morning, is they are really, really good at putting their hands in passing spaces, getting deflections. I mean, look at what Hoiberg and Jacobson combined for 6 steals yesterday. They're such a smart basketball team. So let's go a step further with Sam, and it's not because he's one of us. And every coach, and this is a great tribute, I think it's a great respect for Fred, and it's, and then it coincides with the respect for Sam, is how many votes will Sam Hoiberg get? Now, he's definitely in the all-defensive team, but how many votes will he get for first-team All-Big Ten? I know there's a lot of competition out there, but if you watch basketball and you watch the importance of an individual player to a team, how can you not say, you know what? I think Sam's got to be on one of my ballots. And I know in the Big Ten they have first, second, third team. I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Hoiberg is on one of those teams.
Well, I think there is a difference, between how the media views Sam Hoiberg and how every opposing coach views Sam Hoiberg.
Yes.
Sam Hoiberg has the utmost respect of every single coach in the Big Ten, but media members out there who follow the Big Ten and watch the games occasionally, they say, but Sam's good for him. Coach's kid getting some playing time. Yeah, he plays the game the right way. It's the opposing coaches that have the real honest opinion of what Sam Hoiberg is, and it's one of the best players in the Big Ten, the guy that makes the whole engine tick for Nebraska's defense.
Hey, that's a great point.
Here's one thing to consider with that, though, and Gary's done a lot of games traveling around. Media people will be asking coaches, on inside conversations, like you go to practice on Friday before a game on Saturday, and when you put the microphone down, or you're just chatting on the side of practice, media guys will go, "What's up with Nebraska? Why are they so good?" Coaches then tell them, "Look, that kid is really, really good. He's the one who makes it go. He's so tough defensively, all that." So a lot of the scouting reports that media members actually get, who may have a ballot, will come in those little side conversations. And that's where media people, I believe, if they're listening, will get their education as to, wow, this guy's really good, and I'm going to look really smart if I vote for him first or second team All Big Ten. I think he's going to get some type of honorable mention, All-American note, because he's one of the most talked about players in all of college basketball. He's kind of a novelty, but he's earned it. But there will be people who will vote for him because of those side conversations.
Yeah, Elijah, you bring up a great point, because I still think some of the media look at Nebraska and they go, oh, man, they're having a great year, and they got 2 walk-ons, and Sam Hoiberg and Cale Jacobson. And then coaches watch Nebraska and go, man, that's a really good basketball team. I mean, coaches go out of their way to compliment this team, whether they've lost to Nebraska or they beat Nebraska. But I think if you're a ball knower, you look at Nebraska's roster and you're like, well, there's like 3 or 4 guys, 3 definitely, that's got to get some love in the postseason. But I just think they're just a high basketball IQ, and I don't want to go over the top. I know it was the 21st win of the year yesterday, and it was Rutgers. When we go back and we put a cap on this season, we're sitting around the lake, in the middle of the summer talking about Nebraska basketball, and there'll be the win over Creighton and the win over Wisconsin and the win over Michigan State, and potentially a win over probably Purdue won't get inside of the top 10 tomorrow, but a win over Purdue at home, and then whatever happens in the postseason. I think yesterday's win is pretty important because Nebraska was a significant favorite. They're on the road in a place that they don't normally play well. Rutgers has this identity as a physical team, but yet Nebraska looked like the more physical team yesterday. And Nebraska has done this. And I think this is a sign. Everybody judges how you play against the really, really good teams. And Nebraska's held their own, no doubt. But I also think we need to judge this Nebraska team on how they play teams when someone jumps up and says, well, they should beat them. Nebraska beats them. Okay. And there's no tension convention late in the game. And to go on the road and do what they did yesterday, coming off a little break where they've lost 2 in a row and people are like, oh man, this game might. No, Rutgers isn't very good and Nebraska is good, and Nebraska went in there and hammered them. I think that'll be one of Nebraska's better wins to show you who they are, what they did yesterday on the road, to win where they won going away.
No, and do it before Purdue.
Yeah.
If Nebraska had lost yesterday, stubbed their toe, whatever the case might be, gone in the trunk of a Cadillac, that would have been really, really tense on Tuesday, right? And let's face it, Pokemon cards don't exactly create a home court advantage. So for Nebraska to do what it did and set the stage for Purdue, I think it takes a little pressure off. Mm-hmm. If they had lost yesterday, it would have been really bad.
Well, think about Sparty. Sparty jacked around and got beat by Minnesota. And I know Minnesota's a team that can bite you. That being said, no business doing that. You weren't mature enough to handle your business night of. Michigan State didn't. They end up beating Illinois, but there was a little bit of a look-ahead factor. Nebraska is solely focused on what's in front of them, and that is super impressive. I want to go back for a second with Sam for a moment. And Elijah, what you were touching on, I mean, if you go poll the Big Ten coaches and you ask them, all right, who you can take one person off of the roster and they can't play against you, Sam's probably the pick. I know Price can get hot. I know Rink's a matchup issue. Judge Jamarcus, but based on post games, right? Isn't it, Sam, that most opposing Big Ten coaches are going to say, you know what, if that guy wasn't playing, we'd have a better shot of beating Nebraska.
Well, as I look at Nebraska's roster, I don't think he's the most important cog necessarily. He's up there, but Sam's the hardest guy to replace once he graduates. There are not players that play like Sam Hoiberg in college basketball. The way that he's got to be in the film room for hours upon hours every single day watching teams because he seems to know their offense better than the other team knows their offense. You're watching last night. He was in the passing lanes, and Rutgers, I mean, he was there before Rutgers was even thinking about making the pass, and they throw it right into his arms. It's incredible how he can view another team's offense and seemingly run their offense for them. People say that about like great defensive backs in the NFL, Darrelle Revis, Champ Bailey, those types of guys, was they would run the routes for the wide receiver. They were in the film room so much that they just knew exactly what route was going to happen based on alignment, based on formation, and based on how a receiver would start the route. They would know what route was coming. Sam Hoiberg feels the same way with what he does defensively. And like Rink Mast is great. Price Sanford can knock down threes. But in terms of guys on Nebraska's roster that play unlike anyone else in college basketball in the portal era, Sam Hoiberg is going to be the hardest guy to replace.
Yeah, that goes back to
those are things we work on at 477 on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. A lot of my students are able to do that in class. So just credit where credit's due.
Yeah, the thing about this team, and I've heard Nate say this, they're an older group, so that helps, and they've been around each other for a long time. Is they're really good, and Nebraska basketball's got a really good staff, and it's not just Howard and Ziegler and Lenzer that gets all the attention. They've got a really good top to bottom staff of good basketball minds, is they do a really good job of taking the scout and the film to the floor, where they give them the scouting report, they watch film, they do the walkthrough, and the retention of knowledge is really strong on this team. So they recognize some things that are out there that are going on in real time. And I think that has a lot to do with experience, but also they're so well coached and they're so dialed in. But it goes back to the high basketball IQ. I mean, yesterday, they made the game easy. Again, they took what Rutgers was going to give them, okay? And you know what? Maybe that's not what we want to do. And they were 9 of 27 from 3. Sometimes that'll come back to bite you. But they could get whatever they wanted in the paint. And because Rutgers was allowing them to do that. And I think that's another strength that they have, that if you're playing Nebraska, that's not easy to do because you're not really sure what Nebraska is going to do. What are they going to take advantage of today? And once they get hot from the outside, it opens up a world of opportunities for everybody on that floor.
My favorite moment of the game, though, was when it was in hand. Sam made that cross-court pass that got intercepted when Nebraska's up by like 14 and Rutgers scores like 5 or 6 in a row or something like that. And it was a couple of possessions or, 30 seconds or something of game time go by. And then
got sloppy at the end.
Right. They get sloppy. He makes a cross-court, ill-advised pass, gets picked off. But after about 30 seconds, TV cuts away to Fred, and he gets this look on. You could read his lips. He said, "Sam, what are you doing?" And I'm thinking that's like, Sam getting home at 2:00 in the morning, but dad remembering in the morning that he did get home late. And I thought that was funny. What are you doing?
Well, was it dad voice or was it pissed off coach voice? It was the same, right?
It's like, what the hell?
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. Sam.
Yes, that's yes.
You scratched the car. Dude, what are you doing? I wonder what the intensity level in the voice is like, if it's more intense with a careless turnover that's uncharacteristic, or
you're glad
bad judgment as a teenager or 20-year-old.
Hey, another thing about this team, and this is fun. You hear from people all over the country that are getting tuned into Nebraska basketball, and they're like, "Man, I didn't know they were this good." And they're like, "Well, welcome. You got 8 more games in the regular season where, I don't know, you want to run the table here? I mean, that's kind of a possibility. Then you could have 3 games in Chicago, and then you could have 6 games in the NCAA tournament. So they have 8 in the regular season. They could play 17 more games. I think another thing about how well this team is put together and how well they're connected and how well they play and they hold each other accountable and they're not selfish is, there's a guy that last year we talked a lot about because he played outside of the system. And we're like, what in the hell is this guy doing? And I like him a lot. The Turkish Nightmare, Mr. Berke. Look at how this team has got Berke to play inside of the system. He doesn't make as many bad decisions. Now he's good for one a game where he'll be like, don't shoot, God. And he'll shoot it. But most times he plays within the guardrails of their offense and defense. And I think that's a sign of how well this team is constructed, that a guy like him that was all over the place last year is a smarter basketball player and doesn't hurt Nebraska. He has helped Nebraska more this year than he has hurt Nebraska, and he did that a lot last year. And you thought, wow, that kid's never going to play again at Nebraska. Well, now he's one of their key guys. And I think that's because of how this team is constructed.
Well, his basketball IQ has improved by leaps and bounds, but also he put in some serious work on his body.
His body is in good shape.
He's a much better athlete than he was last year. That really helps him on the defensive end. It helps him be able to stay in the game in terms of minutes. But yeah, you're right, Gary. I mean, the basketball IQ from a guy in Berke, we called him Turkish Nightmare, Turkish Terror. And it wasn't necessarily what he was doing to other teams last season. Like, there were just moments where you're like, oh my God, this guy.
It was 5 on 4 on 1.
His this year. Yeah,
he was in his own game.
I just think they're well connected. You can tell that the guys like each other. Like, they get along really, really well. You can just tell it on the bench. Like, look when a guy, that maybe is playing late in the game, like yesterday, makes a good play that doesn't play a lot, and you see the bench react. I mean, they're a special team that's very likable, and man, this ride continues, and you know what it'll be like Tuesday night. I think Tuesday night is one of those games where you get to judge Nebraska again because it'll be at full strength. And it's probably one of those games that gets into the category of it's difference between a 2 seed and a 3 seed. Because Purdue, back to your point, Bill, Nebraska didn't overlook Rutgers yesterday, knowing that they have this monster game on Tuesday. Purdue kind of dingled and dangled with Oregon yesterday. That's a bad Oregon team, okay, that Dana Altman's gone through a lot this year with injuries, and they're just not very good. And that was a 1-point game with a minute to go. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Nebraska didn't overlook Rutgers, but I think that's a game Tuesday night that if you get down to Selection Sunday 5 weeks from today, you go, okay, a 2 or a 3 seed, Nebraska versus Purdue. One of those games, the way they play tomorrow or Tuesday night, I think factors in. But I still think Nebraska is a solid 2, and I love my reservation in Oklahoma City still.
Well, the thing, too, is you look at where some of the seedings are at. Is Nebraska the last 2 seed right now amongst the 2 seeds? That seems to be where they're at. Are they the top 3 with Purdue being a 2 seed in some spots? So Tuesday night helps define some things with Bear K. You want to talk about his role on this team, and that's why this team's so good, is everybody gets their role, everybody buys into their role, everyone tries to excel at their role, do their job, right? And then they go execute it because their biggest care is to win. That's it. It's not personal accolades. So it's impressive.
Quickly here, Schmidt, before I see we got Grant Wistrom hanging out in the green room. We're going to get to him in just a second. We do have to give a quick shout out.
Do so.
How about one Black Hills Brennan rocking the Average Joe Sports Show hat last night at his what we call it, pool tourney?
Was he singing Werewolves of London?
I don't know. I think he's hanging out maybe in the stream chat here. So Black Hills Brennan chime in. He sent this picture into us though, rocking the Average Joe hat. It was a 2nd place finish. I think he said he walked home with a good amount of money from the pool tournament. I'd like to believe it was the Average Joe Sports Show hat that carried him on. You can get your own Average Joe Sports Show hat. Yeah. Find our merch page in our bio, but great looking picture. Thank you, Black Hills Brennan, for sending that in.
Did he get to Deadwood and put money down on the Super Bowl? That is the question. Let's add Grant to the show as we welcome in Super Bowl champ as he is set up.
Oh, wow. That's a hell of a flex. That is a hell of a flex, my friend.
If you got it, flaunt it, right?
you do. Dude, thanks for joining us, Grant. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How you guys doing today?
We're good. Thanks for popping on. So show off the trophy, dude.
That's a hell of a paperweight.
Right? It's about all it gets you. I get to break it out once a year. So today's my day to shine.
Hey, where do you keep your ring at?
Oh.
Where do you keep your rings?
On the finger.
Nice. Hey, you should have, man, the ones that they win today look a lot larger than that one.
Just a little bit. It makes this thing look like a high school class ring. It's,
you also have giant hands, so.
Well, there is that. So funny story. Georgia Frontiere on the Rams when we won it, hers was actually twice this size, went across 2 fingers and had 2 finger holes in it. It was like a set of brass knuckles. Like it was
Wow.
Did you ever own any brass knuckles as a youth?
When you got these weapons, you don't need that, Smitty. Come on.
Nice.
Even in the mean streets of Webb City.
That's right. You got to be tough down there. A lot of lead in the water. A lot of weirdos there.
Oh, shit. Grant Wistrom's with us here. Super Bowl Sunday. It's the Average Joe Sports Show, and we're gearing up. We were just talking some of Nebraska basketball success this year, Grant, and the roles that the guys on the team have. And tell me a little bit about your Super Bowl run with St. Louis, the championship, and just how that chemistry came together and guys buying into their roles, because it obviously paid off.
Yeah, and then before that, the Rams had been the losingest team. It's almost like Indiana. The Rams were the losingest team in the NFL in the prior decade to them winning the Super Bowl. So, but Coach Herbel, we got there 2 or 3 years before we won it. And it, from what I understand, and even my first year there, it was a pretty toxic locker room. Mm-hmm. Just guys, not team guys who were all about themselves. And so Coach Herbel, my rookie year, I was at, the rookies come in a couple days early, and in training camp, I'm standing there and I'm in the cafeteria line, and some guy from NFL Films is in the line behind me. And he said, do you guys practice like this every day? And I said, man, I don't know. This is my second day here. This is all I know. And he's like, I'm like, how? And it seemed hard. Like we were going 3 days, 3 hours a day, full pads, Macomb, Illinois. I mean, just brutal heat. And I said, how does this compare? I asked him how it compared to other training camps he'd been to. And he's like, we've never seen anything like this. So Coach Vermeil had a plan. You know, he came in there, he worked us hard. He knew that, you know, guys that don't have the toughness, the grit, team mentality, you know, a hard work environment is going to weed those guys out. So that was his, you know, whole game plan to weed the guys out. And going into training camp or, you know, the Super Bowl year, he said, guys, this is our team. He's like, I've been working for this for 4 years. He's like, we're going to do it different this year. And he backed off. I won't say backed off a ton, but he did back off. He's like, we don't need to work like that anymore. So we had a great locker room of guys, and it was a pretty young team. You know, and everybody knows, we traded for Marshall Falk, Hall of Famer. You know, Kurt Warner decides to quit sacking groceries, and, you know, he's a Hall of Famer. But as much, you know, you draft Torrey Holt, and as much as, and, you know, Mike Martz pulling the strings on the offense, greatest show on turf. And as big as part as that was to us winning, I truly believe that we were even close. Like that was a huge part of it, but we were so close as a team. Mm-hmm. You know, we played hard on the field. We played hard off of the field. I mean, we hung out together all the time. So he really created a group of guys there that put the team above themselves. And that's what it takes to win.
How tough is it to go through the 2 weeks after the championship games to prepare for the Super Bowl?
You know, it's tough, but it's, you know, you're at the end of the road. The season is the hardest part, and you're at the finish line. So the light's there at the end of the tunnel. So it just, you know, keep your foot on the gas and finish. And the biggest thing is just eliminating distractions and just keep, you know, the main thing. There is, you know, you hear it all the time, all the stuff that goes on around the Super Bowl. And it's a lot, you know, between trying to coordinate families' travel, you know, getting them on the plane to get down there, getting them tickets, get the hotel room set up. And just, you know, when they're there, you know, hopefully your families are like mine was, it's like, hey, this is a business trip. I mean, they were there having a good time. If I had 15 minutes where I could join them, it was fine, but they weren't pushing me to come out and have dinner with them and to celebrate all this with them. So there's a lot of distractions there, and it's, you know, you hear it all the time, but it's a team that can really keep the main thing. The main thing is a team that's going to have the chance to win.
All right, let's get to a serious question about winning the Super Bowl. So you get the ring, you get the celebration, you get the trophy, you're always a Super Bowl champion, you get the parade back in St. Louis. Was the biggest benefit of winning the Super Bowl, all of a sudden, you're a judge at the Miss USA pageant?
You nailed it.
That's what I thought.
I wasn't sure.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, that was it. Interview's over. No, man, I got to hang out with Trump, Shooter McGavern, and 50 beautiful women that were just, and they did it was in Branson, Missouri, which crazy at the time. They did it in Branson in the middle of winter, and there's like one bar open in the entire town. It's a completely seasonal town. And so you would go out, and it would be everybody in Branson and all these just, you know, 50 beautiful women and all these famous people there. So it was an awesome time. Had a great time there. But yeah, that was definitely the nice little cherry on top.
I need the backstory to how the phone call / invite happened here. How you win the Super Bowl, great, and you're the pride of Missouri. But how did the connection happen to allow yourself to be in that situation?
The head of our community relations department was a good friend of mine. And she said, hey, I don't know if it was the day after or 2 days after, maybe even a day or two before, but it was like, would you want to judge the Miss USA pageant? And I said, Marcy, that might be the dumbest question you've ever asked me. Like, I don't say no to very much, and I'm certainly not saying no to this.
How difficult is that to judge? Like, what was the judging?
Yeah. How hard was that judgment?
Well, it was pretty tough, man. You know, I don't know. It was just hard. I'm looking over my shoulders because I think these other people probably done it before. I'm usually, about 3 beers deep before I'm evaluating talent. So, and I didn't have my beer goggles on that night, so looking through completely different lenses. But it was a fun evening.
Oh, that's too good.
So,
well, Grant, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good talk, fellas.
That's great Super Bowl talk that you get on the Average Joe Sports Show.
there's Harry and Lloyd on the bus, waving.
Yep.
See you, Grant.
Yep.
Hey, are you rooting for the Seahawks today?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Don't be Tom Brady.
And and
Oh, geez. What do we?
but I just make me get naked. So, well, I don't even know if this fits anymore.
Put it on.
Dear Lord.
Put it on.
Oh, like a glove, man. I might have a snap or two left.
Nice.
Yeah, I could do it for like 2 plays, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely cheering for the Seahawks. I hate the Patriots. After they beat us in the Super Bowl, I really like Mike Vrabel and what he's done with the team, and I respect the Patriots organization because they seem to just get, even back when Belichick was there, he would take guys that were cancers on other teams or guys that were at the end of the career, and he would find a way to milk another 2 years out of them and get some high level of play. Or the guys that were cancers on other teams, he'd bring them in, and whether it was him or Brady, whatever, they would do it the Patriot way, and they'd become great team players. And, Randy Moss, I don't think we'd be talking about Randy Moss, and Randy Moss wouldn't be on, NFL Live and all that had he not had his career at the Patriots, where it showed what type of human he could be in a good environment. So I respect the heck out of the Patriots, but I hate them.
Nice.
I want to get your thoughts on Sam Darnold, because you played with a quarterback in Kurt Warner that was kind of counted out. No one believed in him. Gets his opportunity and, turns into a Hall of Famer, as you said. Sam Darnold's a guy that early in his career was counted out. People thought he was one of the bigger busts of the last probably decade in the NFL draft. And then he kind of revives his career as a backup spot in San Francisco, gets a starting opportunity in Minnesota. And now he seems like a top 10, if not top 5 quarterback in the NFL, just based on how he's played the last 2 seasons. What type of chip on a shoulder did you see from Kurt Warner, if at all? And what do you expect from Sam Darnold with all the hate he's received now being on a team that's got a chance to go win a Super Bowl tonight?
You know what? I never saw a chip on Kurt's shoulder. I mean, because I felt like I played football with a chip on my shoulder, just angry, mean, and had to find something to make me mad to go out and play. And sometimes I'd fabricate things in my own head just to piss me off. But Kurt, I wouldn't say that he had a chip on his shoulder. Kurt's, and what's not crazy, but people only want you to know about them what they want you to know. And I played a lot of guys that were, in the pulpit all week long, and then out at the bars on Sunday night, and that's what you see a lot of.
Is that at Nebraska or the NFL?
Well, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Both. But in the NFL, like, Kurt is everything that you think he is. He's an amazing human being, ultimate faith in God, family first. And, he has a glow about him and a love and just an energy that I think it was more, he just had the ultimate belief in himself more than he went out and played with a chip on his shoulder. I love a redemption story like Sam's. I mean, I think it's awesome what he's done, where he started and stayed humble and just didn't give up on himself and just, kept punching the clock every day, showing up to work. And finally, he got in the right environment where things just clicked for him. And he's played his ass off the last couple of years. And I, like I said, I love a good comeback story.
Grant Wistrom hanging out with us here Sunday Live, Average Joe Sports Show. He has got the Super Bowl trophy. He's got the bling. He took his Nebraska shirt off briefly to show off the Seattle Super Bowl jersey. One story I loved hearing from Kurt Warner was he got into Green Bay camp, right? This is one of the first times he landed in the NFL, and he was always trying to stay in the NFL. And he got his signing bonus check via free agency. And he's like, well, I'm just going to, instead of banking the money, he went and bought a GMC Jimmy, a four-wheel drive setup. And then next thing you know, he's out of the league and he's hustling to stay in it. He's like, yeah, that probably wasn't the best decision. What vehicle did you splurge on, or did you drive what you'd been driving when you made it to the NFL?
The first I did is I bought my dad a Lincoln Navigator.
Okay.
Got him a nice car. Bought out my mom's retirement. She'd been a school teacher for forever, so I bought her retirement so she could retire. And then I don't remember. It was probably like my second or third year in the league. I always had dealer cars, and I don't need anything fancy, so I always just had a truck that I drove from a dealer. But I think it was like my second or third, maybe my fourth year in the league, I bought a big Mercedes Benz, and it was a really cool car, possibly the dumbest purchase ever. I would drive it. I was so afraid of door dinging it or something. I would drive it like once a month, and it would just sit in my garage. Dumbest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
But then I bought a '67 GTO convertible.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
that was a cool car. That one got a lot of action.
Grant,
hey,
go ahead, Gary.
No, go ahead, Bill.
I don't want to say which one was better, but how do you compare winning national championships at Nebraska to winning a Super Bowl in the NFL?
That's a funny question. That's good you asked that, Bill. My wife asked me that the other night, and outside of the Miss USA pageant and the parade, which is pretty phenomenal, which I don't really remember a lot of. I was sober, honestly, for about a week after the Super Bowl.
Well, you had class after the Nebraska championship.
Yeah, that's right. I had to go back to school.
Yeah.
Well, we actually went to class I went to class back then. Honestly, I told my wife I might get more winning national championships just because I know what it means to this state. I know how much they care. I know how much they love it. I know how much they want it. And the people in St. Louis, I mean, it was awesome for them and great for the city. But, it's still, it was 30 plus years ago, 30 years ago now, and people still, live it and talk about it. And you don't have that in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So it meant more winning national championships just because I know how much more it meant to the state here.
Hey, you brought up, you played with, I know, at least 4 Pro Football Hall of Famers with the Rams. Roger Craig just went in. Down the road is Sue, David, guys that played at Nebraska. You're in the College Football Hall of Fame. Who should vote for the Hall of Fame, especially for Canton?
I don't really know. Who votes now? I really don't know.
It's more of a selection of media people and executives more than like the guys that are actually in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe both. I don't know why it has to be limited to one or the other. I think, that's a great idea. If you're in it, you should have an opportunity to vote. I know that after I won the Lombardi, I have an opportunity to vote on the Lombardi. But I also think you should only vote if you're knowledgeable. I don't vote for the Lombardi because I don't keep up on guys across the country and how well they're playing. I would vote for a name that I saw somebody else talking about. Mm-hmm. So, I do think that the media probably has a lot more knowledge of guys, and but obviously, and has it really ever been an issue before this year with the whole Bill Belichick deal? Usually people complain that they're guys that, are always fringe guys. Obviously, Bill Belichick should be a first rounder, but I don't know why it went that way, but maybe a combination of players that are in it and media.
I do want to ask you this, and this is a side note because I haven't seen you since the fall. How was the first year for Grant and Melissa watching Charlie play soccer in a Nebraska uniform, wearing your number, which she has worn since she was 5?
It's pretty freaking awesome. One of the highlights of my life. I've lived a very, very blessed life, been able to do a lot of awesome things, but getting to watch your kids excel at something you love, especially in a place like this, it means so much to me. And wearing 98 out there, which means so much to me. It was an awesome year. It didn't quite go the way she wanted to. She played a lot early and it kind of trailed off towards the end, but Charlie's had a great spring. They've already started practicing. And so we're excited about what's coming next year, but just being up here, being close by, being able to see her as much as we get to see her. It's so thankful. And plus I just love being in Nebraska. So, you combine all that, man, it was an awesome first year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, can I ask you, with the number 98, did that mean anything to you? Did you just get that number assigned to you? Did you pick it for any reason, or why was it 98?
You know, I was 96 in high school. When I got to Nebraska, they gave me 98. And so I wore 98 here and did good things for me. So I was able, and when I got to the Rams my first year, somebody, like, I think it was Leslie, it was a defensive end. I can't remember. Leslie, his first name was Leslie, I think. I can't remember his second name. He had 98, but Coach for me, and he was a veteran too. And Coach was like, nope, don't worry about it. It's yours now. So he took it from me and ended up cutting him anyway. And then when I went to Seattle, some guy already wore 98 and he wanted like 40 grand for it or something. And I was like, no, I'm good. Don't need it that bad. So I know how hard mom and dad worked to make $40,000. I'm not blowing it on a number. So my first year in Seattle, I wore 96 and then they cut the guy. So I got 98.
Nice.
And then after my second year, they brought in Julian Peterson from the 49ers and he wore 98 there. And he asked me what I wanted for it. And I was like, man, I don't want to sell it, but if it's worth it to you, buy me a new BMW, you can have it. So he decided he was going to wear 49 after that. And then they cut me a year later, and then I don't know if he wore it after that. So lots of times it's just a waiting game.
Grant, we'll get you out. Plans today for the Super Bowl, and a quick thought on Husker football as spring football gets going here. The 21st already of February for year 4 for Coach Rule.
Well, for the game, actually, I think Jason's coming over later. I'm going to cook some food and just hang out here and watch the game. But then Husker football, there's been so much change this offseason. I don't think we really know what team we have, obviously, with the way the schedule sets up. It's going to be, it's a meat grinder. And hopefully the new coaches that come in, it killed me. We lost Eckler. I think that you got a coach like that there that I think he's so much more than a special teams coach. I think that loss is going to be felt outside of the special teams. And then you've got a really young guy with not a lot of experience. I don't know. It just seems kind of just not smart to bring in a guy with very little experience, say you're going to be fine. We're going to hire within. We're going to keep, and you got to, I don't know. It's just been kind of a bad look for Nebraska in the offseason. Such a poor portal and recruiting class, and got guys on campus here 19 days and leaving, guys, leaving to go coach high school football. It's just a bad look. And, right now, I got my fingers crossed. We certainly didn't win. We weren't the offseason national champs this year. So hopefully that bodes for a better season. But it's going to be tough. And I think we're really going to see what Rule, this staff, and this team is made of this year. What kind of backbone they have. Because this can be a hard schedule, and they're going to take their lumps, and they're going to have to show up every Saturday. And if we go 4-8, but the guys play their hearts out every Saturday or Friday or whenever they play, then that's what it is. But I think if we go out and play like we did the last 3 games of the season, that's not Nebraska football, and there's got to be other changes made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Grant, plans for this evening and a score prediction from you for tonight's game.
Wow. I'm going to eat way too much food. That's on the menu tonight. I've been pretty good to myself this last week, so I'm going to blow that and eat way too much. And score, man, I haven't even put any thought into it yet. But let's go 31-17 Seahawks.
Nice.
Grant, we'll get you an average Joe hat sent to you. Appreciate you,
Yeah,
man.
come on, get this champ roofing gear off me. I need something nice.
Well, I
That's
like
a good business, by the way.
It
yeah,
is.
I like.
You need a roof, call me. Look us up.
I love it.
Bill says your business name too.
Yeah.
What's that?
Bill, underneath Bill's Twitter, you too can advertise with the Average Joe Sports Show and
Dang
get your
it.
name.
Oh, it's Champ Roofing. We're based in Lincoln. We serve a 3-hour radius of Lincoln. Give you a free estimate. Look us up, give us a call. We'll give you an honest answer on it.
Well, and pay on time, right?
Well, that's always nice.
Yeah.
I know some hardcore pipe hitting guys that if they don't, I'll send them their way.
Grant, we said 10 minutes. We blew through that.
Nice.
Thanks for your time, bud.
You bet, guys. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Hey,
See you,
Grant.
man.
Go
There he
get
is.
Grant.
Yeah.
Grant Wistrom with
man.
us. That was fun.
Throwing the
And
bones at the end.
I he
Yes.
started taking clothes off, and it kind of frightened me, but it was okay.
He was. He's one of my favorites. And
Just a good dude.
Spent a lot of time at Lazari's on O Street with him and Jason. So
that was incredible. And speaking of, Junior's working a double today.
Oh, well, a busy day. Hey,
That was-
so back to his daughter. So Charlie will be a sophomore at Nebraska, and she was a place kicker in high school.
Yeah.
So she's gone into Memorial Stadium with her dad, and they've kicked field goals. But she came to, and I think you guys have gotten to know Grant and his wife Melissa. She came to her parents and said, "I want to wear 98" when she was 5 years old. So she's worn number 98. So if you get a chance to go out and watch, and Nebraska soccer does have a spring schedule over at Hibner.
Mhm.
That person wearing 98 on the field, that's Charlie Wistrom. It's a pretty cool story because he, as he mentioned, and you have him on as a regular, Schmitty, he moved back to Lincoln. He came back to Lincoln to start, to start a business and, got involved in the community. And it's fantastic to see him around because you can tell that he cares so much still about this program and wants this program to be good. And he's such a great representative for the program because when you see Grant Wistrom, I don't immediately think of a Rams Super Bowl champion. And I know we're a little biased because we saw him playing in Lincoln. People still look at him and go, "Oh, there's a guy that played in Nebraska and was, filthy rush end," which we've been searching for. The stretch between Grant Wistrom, David, Randy Gregory, that has been few and far between.
Mm-hmm. And you look at some of the teams that could stand up and win home or away. Guess what they did on 3rd and 8. Guess what they did against the run. They were great against the run, and they were fantastic at getting to the quarterback. They were good at getting turnovers. They were good at scoring points. You had defenses that Grant was on that 96 team when they went 11-2 and James Brown didn't make you feel good, but that team as the offense was trying to kind of find their way, that defense scored 7 or 8 touchdowns that season.
Yeah.
And that was when they took over. That was after Christian graduated, and it was Tomich, it was Jason, it was Grant's show to run. As they stepped in, they had been starting as Jason and Grant as sophomores, but as juniors, it was their show, and they were right there. But man, they were special for sure. Just a good dude.
What if I told you today that you were going to play college football and you were going to have a rush end that was 240 to 255? You guys would laugh, right?
It can, are you able to hold up against the run?
It's 3-4 outside linebacker weight is what that is. Like you can still see it, but sport has evolved just a little bit.
Well, in Nebraska, always they kind of went inside out. So what they did is guys that would play defensive tackle or defensive end, they moved into the interior because they were a fast attacking defense. You had outside linebackers move to rush end. You had safeties that moved to linebacker. You had Ed Stewart from safety to linebacker. That was the theory on it.
Could you imagine? Okay, go back even further than Grant at that weight, that playing weight. Broderick Thomas was so far ahead of his time to what a rush edge and defensive end it would be in today's game. Broderick was a freak specimen out of Houston who played about 260, 270 as a defensive end. And on the other side of that line were not players like Broderick, shall we say. So he was dominant. Broderick Thomas would make, if he lined up on the left, he was making plays on the right. And oftentimes, unfortunately, he was making plays on the right 20 yards downfield because nobody could catch them. Teams just completely exposed Nebraska's weakness on the other side of that line. Nobody ever went Broderick's way. but Broderick Thomas played a rush in position like they play it today. And you're talking about the mid to late 80s and a guy who played, I don't know, 12 years in the NFL and got mired in Detroit. So you never really heard much about Broderick, but Broderick Thomas would be a defining rush edge defensive end in today's game at that size that he played with and the ferocity they played with. Could somebody help me read between the lines to what Grant said there at the end?
About special teams?
About everything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Eckler is Mike is Mike bleeds Nebraska football, and he lets that be known when he's talking to former players. And I think if you're watching it from afar, and all of a sudden you lose a guy like Eckler, who in 1 year had a very much was a difference maker, and all of a sudden he leaves, you're going to question what's going on. I think at the end of the day with special teams is Rule will be remembered not by making a move on Ed Foley, not by hiring Mike Eckler. It's who he replaced Mike Eckler with. That's how he'll be remembered in that category. It's not bringing Eckler here for a year to turn things around. It's what did you do when you didn't have Mike Eckler? And that's how we'll judge. We'll forget about Ed Foley because you had a year of Eckler, but we won't forget about if special teams takes a step back this upcoming year. Fortunately for Nebraska, you still have Cunanan and Wilson. I mean, I think they're going to be fine. It's just the whole operation of communication, messaging, excitement to play special teams, what you want to do with your special teams, who's playing on special teams. I mean, that'll all factor in. But if that area is not good at the beginning of the year, oh boy. I mean, the phone lines are going to be full. Our chat room's going to be full, and you're going to be like, well, you did it to yourself.
I thought he was talking about the whole state of the program and not just special teams. I thought that was just one glaring. Well, that's the topic, but I think there was more to what he was saying.
Dare I say, just based on, I think, the mood of the fan base through this offseason, Grant said it, and we've talked about it before, it doesn't feel like you're winning another offseason national championship this year, which is the first time in a long time, and that speaks to the mood of the fan base. If it's a loss against Sparty in the first Big Ten game, if you get off to a scuffling start, I know there's a lot made of that class of 2027. You got to get through 2026 to get the kids from 2027 on campus first. I think there is a lot of apprehension amongst the fan base. If there's apprehension amongst the fan base and amongst the donors, it's a big season for Matt Rule just in terms of making it through. And people are going to talk about the buyout. I think what modern college football has showed us is if the results aren't coming, the buyout no longer matters because you're looking at the big picture of college football and what could be coming 10 years down the road with super conference. You don't want to be left out of that. If you don't have results, the money you could get from a super conference is worth a hell of a lot more than a buyout. The Grant speaks just the mood of the fan base, and I think the concern that Matt Rule should be feeling. This is a huge offseason. It's a huge 2026. It's make or break. If you're not seeing development and some of the offseason moves that you make don't work out for you in terms of the offense you're flipping to, letting Mike Eckler go, the change at defensive coordinator, if things don't work out for you, you might not see that class of 2027 class ever make it to Lincoln. I think it's that type of season for Matt Rule and for Nebraska.
Well, it's insurance that, all right, you have this coming to town. This is waiting in the wings. But right now you have burnt through a lot of goodwill that you've started out having because you're so good at communication, right? You're accessible. You're out and about. Folks want you to succeed. Every Nebraska fan's like, okay, here's another coaching change. This is the name that was on everyone's short list. You go back to the Nebraska got the guy, right? And what can't happen is you can't settle or be so stubborn that you got to have a certain style of staff around you.
Yeah.
Well, go hire the best out there, period, versus being okay with, all right, I know best and I'm going to promote from within because, I want to pay it forward, which is great. But at some point, go get the best. You did that with Eckler and look what it did for you.
Yeah, I hope there's, this is kind of, I'm sensing this, and it starts in the power chair with Dan, and there's a sense of urgency from the top now. of I'm going to have a little bit more influence. We're going to have more discussions about how this puzzle is all going to piece together. I think what we find out here, you're going into year 4 where you don't have any sustained momentum, where you're building off last year and you're like, okay, I got this to look forward to. I mean, last year you did. You came off a bowl win. You had Dillon coming back. You're like, oh, and then Eckler shows up and you're like, all right, the schedule is manageable. This is a breakthrough year. There's no sustained momentum from this past year and even the offseason, like nothing over the top. But we're about to find out when people get squeezed, what comes out. Maybe for the first time in a while, a true sense of urgency to get this turned around and get momentum and headed in the right direction where people talk about you, and they don't talk about you as winning offseason national championships. They talk about what you do on Saturdays. Maybe that's a good thing, because I'm sensing that from the top now. As Dannon is next month will be here 2 years. There is a sense of urgency. You either got it or you don't. And we're not going to play the game where, okay, now we move the chairs around the ship again. This is you kind of got your get out of jail free card. You got what you wanted, and now let's see if it works. You can either coach or you can't coach. That's what we've come down to. You either got athletes or you don't got athletes. You either got coaches or you don't got coaches. And the results on the field are going to tell you everything you need to know in this upcoming year.
And that 27 class that is so much talked about, it's 28 or 29 before they really pay off, right? Most people expect that Taylor's going to be given the job as a true freshman again. Whether that happens or not, we don't know. But as good as that 27 class is shaping up to be, they are at least 2 years away from having an overall kind of impact. Yeah. Who has to have an impact now are all of those young pups that came in a couple of years ago, the Bricks and the Sledges and players like that, and some of them are already gone because there wasn't the development. They're not going to be a factor now. We couldn't develop after 2 years, or we misjudged who they were when we signed them. They're gone, so now it's back to the big haul and the transfer portal this year. And I'm not big on the only 12 guys in the class of 26, and I'm not big on that. But that 27 class that everybody is pointing to is at least 2 years away from being an impactful class. So how are you developing ones who are already there to have an impact this year? That to me is the most concerning thing. Yeah. And who will have an impact in 27?
The early reports you're hearing though, in terms of, you're right, Bill. This offseason it's not the class of 2027 that's going to save Matt Rule's job, and save might be a little dramatic, but you all get what I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. There is a lot being asked of a lot of people behind the scenes early in winter conditioning, from staffers to players to coaches. There is that. Pressure makes diamonds, I guess is the best way to put it. I think that's how they're kind of trying to embrace it. They're feeling the pressure though this offseason. They're feeling it through winter conditioning. They're asking a ton of everybody in that building because they know 2026. It's the make or break season. It's season that determines whether or not Matt Rule is going to be successful around here or not.
And game 4 is that hinge point again for the third consecutive season. I don't remember who game 4 was Matt Rule's first year. I think they won that game. But the Illinois game 2 years ago, that overtime game, everything started to go south. Raiola's confidence was shot after that, and Nebraska never recovered from game 4. And game 4 last year was Michigan. And we talked about it on this show that whatever Michigan does will be the blueprint for everybody else going forward. And it was just run the ball right at Nebraska's defensive line, and you're going to win the game. And that's what happened. Week 4 this coming season is Michigan State on the road, Fitzgerald's first conference game. If that doesn't go well, that's going to set the tone for the rest of the season.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge because you've got morale right now that's fading from the fan base. There's the expectation that the offense can flip and be better because you've gone more mobility at quarterback. You've got experience at quarterback. You've made changes on the offensive line. You've bought offensive linemen to go with who retained on the offensive line. And it really kind of comes down to the trust factor. And right now, outside perception is lacking in trust with the fan base towards the head coach because of missteps the past 3 years with hires, or talent evaluation or who's taken off. And you've just not seen it. You've not seen it in November, 2-10, and you've not seen it, and it's gone the other way. It's one thing to be in dogfights in your first 2 years in November, and there's a lot of games that could have gone the other way for you. You were there, but the way you ended this year, and then you lose Eckler, you lose your quarterback. You have an underwhelming on paper portal class. I mean, it's just hit after hit after hit after hit, and then here's your schedule drop.
But
they don't. Go ahead, Elijah.
Oh, please, Gary.
Well, they don't have. It's kind of a disjointed program because they'll have technically a win, and then they'll have a WTF. Like you get I think the Berryman pickup is a solid pickup, and it's a sneaky pickup. He's a little bit raw, so I don't expect him to jump on the field, and I don't like the fact that he's not enrolling early at that position. But that's a sneaky pickup to keep in the back of your mind of, hey, Nebraska won a battle for a kid. Corey Brown got a guy on the recruiting trail right away where the previous defensive line coach did not. But then you turn around, you lose a guy who was going to be helping with your special teams to a high school. They're not stacking success. And the thing that'll be uncomfortable around here is it's going to be a long offseason because it's nothing but speculation. Okay. You don't have any concrete stuff to go, I know this is going to happen in 26. And you're not going to know anything until they suit up and they play North Dakota. And of course, or not North Dakota, but Ohio. You're not going to know enough until you get further into the season. So it's kind of disjointed where they have one good thing happen, and then it seems like the next day there's something you go, what is going on? And then they'll turn around and they'll have something positive happen. But then by the end of the week, it'll be like, what? They haven't had like just stacking of, hey, success after success. We got some momentum. We got to feel good. This is starting to fit. There's pieces. I see what the vision that you guys have. They just can't get out of your own way. And it's not just, it's not just in the offseason. It's on Saturdays as well.
Well, the big question to me is you look at last year and the improvements that they made, offensive line, defensive line. Nebraska, I mean, they couldn't stop a nosebleed last year on the ground. Can they run it through the A-hole in 2026? That's the real question. If they can do that, they'll be fine.
Yes. Well played. Well played. Hey, ironically, speaking of running through the A-hole, and
you have that audio, Elijah?
I can find it.
Jeff Smith is fantastic with Kent. We love Jake, and Jake was really, really good. And then Jake is being dad, so he couldn't travel as much. But Jeff Smith, Coach Smith, is such a great compliment to Kent because he gets Kent's humor and he plays right into it. It's such a great broadcast, and it would be a great broadcast even if Nebraska was not as good as they are this year. But man, they are perfect together because when it's time to talk basketball, they do it great. But Jeff plays off Kent so well. Think about this for a moment because I'm following. Nebraska softball is down 2-1 in the fifth to Washington after beating Texas yesterday. Isn't it interesting because we're talking about Rule and we're talking about Dannon's involvement. We're talking about year 4. And man, what does year 5 look like? What does year 6 look like? The two programs that have a lot of excitement, whether they're in the middle of their season or just started, are two sports where there was patience with the head coach, Fred Hoiberg. And remember, Rhonda Revelle, we thought Rhonda was going to be gone. Remember when former players and current players that were no longer in the program were rising up and Rhonda got suspended? And Bill Moose said, not so fast. And he put Rhonda back in her job and they stuck with her. And then all of a sudden, and they stuck with her when Jordy had said yes to Nebraska and then goes to Oklahoma. And now she's come back and look at, they win yesterday against Texas. That's a good late May victory on your resume to host a regional or a super regional. Just interesting that the two programs that have a lot of momentum, and volleyball is on the side, they have momentum, but I'm talking about these two in particular that are currently playing. There was patience with the head coach.
No.
And I don't know what that means for football, but that popped in my head when we're talking about Rule here and what year 4, year 5 looks like. look at Ronda Revelle, who's been here much longer, and then Fred and what he's doing right now.
You can absolutely have patience. You need patience, especially with football, as much change has gone on in 2 decades. But you need to see some progress.
Yeah.
And right now you've had to reshuffle, and I don't think hiring Orich and some of his crew defensively, I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad at all. I mean, I think you could have a really good coordinator and good defensive staff, but you, from a judgment standpoint, you made the decision to move on from Eckler as far as not find a way to keep him. That's not good. And you made the decision to replace Tony White with John Butler, and that was not the right call. And make him, by the way, try and still run this 3-3-5 thing that is foreign to him. It's not that he's not smart enough to figure it out. He's been in football forever, but the point is you didn't let him do his own thing. You see a little more autonomy from the new defensive coordinator with not only hires, but with what personnel he wants to go after. All that being said, you find a way to keep Eckler here, right? You've made the change on the offensive line, and who knows, maybe that is parole finally for Dana with what he wants to run and the play calls he can actually trust. I mean, there's so much that's been going on the last 2 to 3 years with personnel, perception, and then actual what can you do successfully right now. And maybe you'll see upward movement, mobility. Maybe you can finally see no more handcuffs on either side of the football.
Well, Gary brings up points about Ronda Revelle and Fred Hoiberg. Both of them made changes to the way they were going about their business, whether it be personnel-wise, philosophically. I still look. I've known Rhonda since before she became the head coach at Nebraska. I can't imagine anything that she was going through was accurate, but that's just a personal opinion. But she's talked about, I changed my approach and things have worked out well. Yep. She maintained that connection with Jordy Ball even after she went to Oklahoma, and the door was always wide open to a return. And as a result, Ball's brought players with her back to Nebraska. But Fred and Rhonda made some adjustments into the way they were operating. Even to a certain extent, you could talk about Mark Manning, whose team has its final home duel today against Northwestern. You know, Mark's been there for 25 plus years and changed a few things. He's always been a steady, 7 to 12 in the NCAA championships, but the last couple of years, it's one of the dominant programs. Matt Rule, is he willing to admit that there are some things that have been done wrong? I mean, hiring Matt E to be the defensive line coach for the bowl game was not good. He did swallow his pride and bring in Dana Holgerson at a unique time during a season to make a change at an offensive coordinator. So that was somewhat bold, but will there be a significant change in approach as to how this program is operated so that year 4, year 5, year 6 still has the same guy, but it's going in a different direction with better projection than where Nebraska is right now? If it's just, look, we're just going to turn our hat around and keep doing what we're doing, that's probably not going to be the answer.
So is it the coaching or the players?
You got to pick the right players, and once you get them, you got to keep them and develop them. And that's the part of this is you've had guys you've gone out and found in the portal, but I don't know that anyone's hit a ceiling. You're not having guys hit their ceiling.
So I bring this up because I think defensive line is an interesting spot to look at, because you had Terrence Knighton was a really good defensive line coach.
He motivated.
he had a great connection with the guys that he had for 2 years. They made a bad hire. There's still some guys that were on this roster last year playing defensive line that are back, and they're playing with their third position coach in 3 years. So what if all of a sudden Riley Van Poppel looks like what he did under Terrence Knighton?
That's a good thing.
And it starts at the top, because you have to pick the right coaches for your personnel and for you. And, if all of a sudden defensive line guys that were on the milk carton last year, all of a sudden are back, you're like, okay, let's talk about coaching. But again, that goes back to the right on the footsteps of the head coach of you made a bad hire. You didn't make the right hire for the guys that were in that room or for what you wanted to do. And that's all part of being a CEO. So I'm going to watch the defensive line, third position coach in 3 years. They're kind of now running all different kind of, now this year the style is different from what they ran last year. Are we going to say, is it the players were fine? It was just the coaching, or it was the coaches that elevated them? Because it wasn't, remember, Ty didn't really pop until later in his career. But when he popped big time. Mm-hmm. And was that because Knighton showed up? And Ty played for a plethora of different voices that were in his head in his long time at Nebraska.
Fellas, should we do a prediction here as we wind down Sunday Live? Like and subscribe to the Average Joe Sports Show YouTube. We're on 7 days a week. Twitter, AJ Sports Radio. That's Gary Sharp, the Iron Horse. Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman, Bowler Extraordinaire, Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt, and Grant Wistrom was with us a little bit about an hour ago, and was just awesome. Just fun to talk ball with him.
And as big thank you to Grant. This question might come off as not respectful towards Grant. I don't want it to be that. But as we talk Husker softball, we were talking with Grant about number 98. Could Jordy Fromm dethrone Grant Wistrom as the greatest Husker to ever wear number 98 when her career's all said and done?
I don't think so.
3 rings, national accolades, College Football Hall of Fame, Super Bowl, 3 Super Bowls.
There's not really any other 98s that even hold a candle to Grant, but Jordy's the first in a long, long time. That makes it a conversation.
It's quite a resume. They both have, but Grant's resume is incredible.
But it brings up a good point, Elijah, because 98 is such a kind of an odd number that you would have one of the greatest Nebraska football players wore that, and now one of the greatest high school and college softball players ever from the state of Nebraska wears the same number. And Grant explained why he wore 98, because it wasn't like, hey, I love 98. I was wearing it in high school. He's wearing 96, gets to Nebraska. Jordy wears it for a specific reason. But that's an interesting number. That would be, everybody does the countdown to the start of the season and the best player to wear such and such number. The best number across all sports at Nebraska on sports that wear uniform numbers. 98's sitting right there. Because you can't have Grant Wistrom and Jordy, Ball Fromm and not have that in the contention as one of the top worn numbers at Nebraska. But there aren't many, I can't think off the top of my head, many other number 98s, that have, and outside of football.
Vincent Valentine wore 98. That's about the only one I can think of.
By the way, that's my comp for Berryman is Vincent Valentine.
Yeah. Damian Daniels.
What other numbers are up there? Like what great Husker numbers? 15 with
15 runs the
Ferragamo. Yeah. Vince Ferragamo.
Well, 7 won 2 national, or won a national championship and played for a national championship
and won a Heisman.
Yeah, and won a Heisman.
Yeah.
I wish there was a fellow 26 to go with Mr. Comine.
Well, there is Tom Rathman, or is he 25?
Rathman was 26. Wonder Mons.
Yeah.
26.
Best afro in America.
Without question. I think Lance Lewis wore 26 also.
Yes, he did. Yes.
That's
a great question.
Craig, Damon, Richard Bell.
Donnie Westbrook.
Emmett Johnson.
Strick.
Emmett Johnson's 21 too. You can't forget about him.
Yeah, this would be a good 4. We could find some 4s. You got Alex Gordon. Number 4.
Levante David.
Randy Gregory.
Larry Velocity.
This is a yes. This is a This is a good off-season
Summertime.
topic.
I was gonna say this is perfect for June
Well,
and July.
But also making a list, because if people have not seen Jordy play, and I hope a lot of people got to see her when she was at Papillion, they got to see her when she's at Oklahoma, and her time that she's been in Nebraska. She's like an athlete that you have to go to Bowlin Stadium to see her. Okay, she's that good, and she's that dominant in the circle, and now at the plate as well. Which, I mean, they would just go like, she's a 20-20. She'll win 20 games and she'll hit 20 home runs. A good list of athletes, because we've all been through different eras of Nebraska athletics, of players that you had to see in person. Like, you went out of your way, either as a kid or as an adult, that you had to see that person play in person. You know, there's plenty of football players that we all said, man, I got to see Tommy play. I got to see Tommy play in person. People are going, I got to see Comine on a Friday night at Buck Belcher or in his lone year at Haymarket Park, you know? Or I got to see, I got to go see the governor play at in volleyball. I got to go see Jordan Larson. Like, Jordy is one of those that I hope people that have maybe don't pay attention to softball say she's one of the best of all time in this state. Just like I did with Peaches James, I got to go see her play.
Schmidt, we can't hear you. I think your mic might be muted.
Sorry, I had to go get the German. What about Tominaga? Did he reach
yes.
that?
Oh, yeah. People went out of their way to go see Tominaga.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He's there, football wise. I mean, it's a guy that falls into that category for me, and we got to cover him, but Amir. I mean, Amir was special.
I put on Sue.
Yeah, that's
Sue was a must-see player of my lifetime, where you had to go into Memorial Stadium and see him make a play, get a sack, and then the Sue chants that would come after that.
He'd make a game-changing play.
And then the amount of commentators that have to say, they're not booing, they're
yes. Hey, by the way, number 10, I mentioned Jordan Larson, Ty Lue.
Yep. I was going to say he's one that people probably made their way to Devaney to go watch play specifically. He would be one, basketball wise. I'm trying to think football. I mean, football, you go back just because of the lore of the day, and you didn't have near the attention, but everybody knew Turner Gill. And when Turner started in 81 as a sophomore after Nebraska started 1 and 2, he was a must see. I mean, that whole scoring explosion, but he was a must see. And then Tommy Frazier, that was the one where everybody knew that kid was coming in from Florida. And when he did what he did after his first start at Missouri, everybody was in on Tommy Frazier back in 92. So
I'll say Nebraska's a 2-point favorite. Predicting the line for Tuesday night against Purdue.
You've been nails with your lines recently, so if you're saying it as gospel.
I predicted 78-64 yesterday, and I wasn't that far off. But we all said, all 4 of us said, or all 5 of us yesterday said Nebraska would cover.
It was a backdoor cover. That doesn't. We had the feel for the game, right? There's a couple late buckets. It's a backdoor cover from Rutgers. Did the line close at 12.5 or 11.5?
Some folks got it at 13.5. Some got it at 11.5. Some landed on
we were going off 11.5.
So you got beat anyway. Yeah. So quick prediction as we say goodbye. Who wins? And do you lay the points or take the points?
Give me the upset. I'll take the Patriots. Lower scoring game, 21-17. I think Vrabel I think he's the better head coach in this matchup. I think that's gonna make a difference. Both these quarterbacks, I think, are probably gonna struggle a little bit when the lights are bright. Sam Darnold has surprised me this postseason with how he hasn't had a Sam Darnold-esque game. I think we see a couple Sam Darnold-esque plays. I know I was giving him some love earlier, but I think there will be a play or two today where you go, oh, there's Sam Darnold. Drake May, in this moment, he hasn't been great in the postseason. I think that run continues. I think it's a lower scoring game. The defense has come to play, and the better head coach, Mike Vrabel, I think gets it done 21-17 Patriots.
I think Seattle's defense, Kenneth Walker, is huge today for Seattle, 27-17. Sea Chickens.
I think Seattle wins it. I think Sam Darnold becomes the next in the line of a Trent Dilfer or Brad Johnson doing a Super Bowl, and you go, what?
He's better than those two.
Well, maybe. Found the right situation, but I do think that Seattle wins it because of their defense. I think it's a boring game, 27-13.
No, it's been a boring lead up to the Super Bowl where everything is about everything but the Super Bowl. I like your Kenneth Walker, Schmidt. I think he's my MVP. I've already made a trip to lay down money. I've got Hunter Henry as an anytime touchdown. I've got Smith and Jigba under 95.5 yards receiving because he's going up against Gonzalez. And I don't know if you guys like head or you like tails, but have you decided what you're going with the coin toss?
I know tails never fails. I'm going heads.
Thank you.
It feels like a heads night for me. I'm wondering what song Bad Bunny performs first. That's the big question in my eyes. And then what Gatorade bath? I think I'm locking in orange. That's a bold play, but I think the Gatorade bath is orange this year.
Wasn't there one year where they didn't show it and people lost their mind?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could give two damns about the halftime.
Whoa!
Or the Gatorade color.
Stick to sports.
Just give me a good game. I'm quite honestly, my biggest concern is how long do I throw the 3-pound tomahawk in the oven after I sear it? I am reaching out to all of the steak gurus I know out there, and I need a little take or two from the folks in the stream. If I go 350 for an hour,
I'm telling you, Schmidt, smoker 250 for an hour and then sear.
Okay, so I got to make a trip after the gym to go get more pellets.
That'll be worth it though. It'll be worth it.
And let's make a guy that almost became an assistant coach under Rule and would have really changed things in year one. Shout out to the folks in O'Neill, the pride of O'Neill. Jake Peets has a chance to win a Super Bowl today as a member of the Seahawks staff.
I heard from Jake this week, and we will get him locked in here with the Average Joe weekend show at some point.
You were bothering him during Super Bowl week?
He got back to me at least, yeah. I wasn't bothering him. I said, hey, if you got 2 seconds, how's your Sunday look? Kidding.
He's on the fast track. I mean,
he'll be a head coach in 3 years.
He didn't want to hang in the fishbowl of Nebraska football at this time in his career, and he made the wise choice to go work for McVay. But now what he's doing in Seattle, yeah, he's going to be a head coach someday, or he will be mentioned down the road as a potential head coach in the NFL.
He worked for Rule in Carolina. He also worked for Saban, 2 tours with Saban. And I think there were offers originally for him to be the OC or a co-OC here in Lincoln.
So he was going to be the co-OC and the quarterback coach.
Yeah, and I don't know that he was real wild about who he was going to be co-OC with. So that's there's that.
Yeah, I also think he didn't want to put his family through all of the scrutiny of
8 children.
Yeah.
That's a party bus, dude.
Yeah, it is. It is. He's a bright football man. I can't wait when we get him on. I love the way he approaches and talks ball.
No, he's good stuff. Billy D, I need your prediction, or did you already give it? I'm sorry.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah.
Oh, we still can't hear you. Oh. No, we got you now.
Yeah, we got you.
27-10, Seattle.
Okay. There he is, the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman, Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt. Find us Tuesday, 4 to 6 down in the rail yard, gate 25 ahead of Nebraska and Purdue, a live Average Joe Road Show. So check us there. Find us Monday through Sunday on YouTube at the Average Joe Sports Show and Instagram, where you can find all the Average Joe Sports Show gear. Get yourself something ordered and wear it proudly. YouTube, Twitter as well, AJ Sports Radio. Sharpie, Billy D, Elijah, have a good Super Bowl Sunday. Joes, love you much. Thanks for hanging out. We'll talk to you next time.